systems are a go.
Confirming all systems are a go. Launching the podcast.
3, 2, 1.
This is Hello from Mars.
When I have a guest on the pod that is all about fangirling and having a business dedicated to it, I gotta bring us into the right place, right? I mean, everybody that knows me knows I am a huge Hanson fan, so this is my happy Hanson place. I don't let anybody here except now you guys. So welcome to it. If you are on the YouTubes, then you can actually see it. If you're not, then, maybe you should just stay on audio, because honestly, I don't want you to judge me too harshly. But that being said, we will get to my guest in just a few minutes. I want to give you guys an update because, at the end of the last pod, I had mentioned how I had gotten my first COVID shot and I was feeling good. Like I did some video afterwards, and, I let you guys know about 15, 16, 17 hours later how I was feeling. And by that time I was feeling fine. But it turns out this COVID shot, I feel like, honestly, it hits everybody differently, just like COVID does itself. So that being said, as somebody who is severely asthmatic, maybe this is why, my immune system is just not the best in general. So next thing you know, I hit a brick wall. I was super fatigued and I had this headache that wouldn't quit no matter what I did. My glands too, it didn't feel like a sore throat, but it kind of felt like somebody was choking me. That's the only thing I can really equate it to. And it lasted from about noon Tuesday to about 10:30 Thursday morning. And then all of a sudden it was gone. I had a burst of energy. I felt amazing. So just know that if you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, this is a possibility. It does seem to hit everybody differently. I've heard various things. And then, my mom has gotten her second COVID vaccine, and I've heard that's where you actually are supposed to start feeling symptoms. And she's 24 hours later still feeling okay. So I don't know. It's a weird situation, but this entire year has been. So let's be serious. All right, let's get to Tops and Pop this week because some weird stuff's been going on.
Tops in Pop.
Lots of robbery. We'll get to that in a second. I want to first of all say farewell, good riddance to Sharon Osbourne leaving the talk. Some people are saying she was bullied off the show. Others are just like me being like, bye. Also, people are having kind of similar feelings to Chrissy Teigen leaving Twitter this past week. She really was bullied. She's somebody who I'm actually sad to see her go, because while I'm not a huge fan of hers, she's hilarious. She's really, really funny. And her tweets, I live for them. And now they're gone. But yeah, she's somebody who has dealt with a miscarriage lately. She's just had a lot of stuff going on. And Twitter was kind of an outlet for her to be positive and humorous and whatever. And then people bullied her and she left. So good job, Twitter. Now we'll get to these robbery stories, because there's been a lot popping up actually in Hollywood with just people having break-ins. And we talked about last week, Johnny Depp had a break-in with his house. Pete Davidson had some crazy stalker break into his house as well. And now this week, it's Beyonce having people break into her storage unit and stole $1 million worth of stuff from this storage unit in Los Angeles. First of all, Beyonce has a humongous mansion. Why do we have a storage unit? I don't get that, but who am I to judge? And then you've got Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello, who had somebody break into their apartment or their house or whatever it was while they were there. So they called for help, and whoever it was that broke in realized they were home, grabbed some car keys and bounced, and actually drove away with Shawn's Mercedes. So weird stuff going on in Hollywood. Yeah. So, but that's the latest update. So now let's get to my guest this week, who I absolutely adore. Her name is Julie. She is the owner and founder and CEO and genius behind Fangirl Fantasy. I know I've seen it spread all across New England. And honestly, it's because she has created such a really cool, night out experience for fangirls like myself. So what it basically is if you like One Direction, if you like Taylor Swift, if you're a boy band fanatic, it's a whole night out at a rooftop bar in Boston or otherwise, where it's just that music all night long. It's specially decorated. There's drinks to go along with it. And it's just like a big party for people that just love the same thing that you do. So it's super, super cool. I'm going to let her explain where this genius idea came from, who she's been fangirling, how she's feeling about some stuff that's happening in pop culture right now, and more. So just meet Julie. I think this is perfect because from one fangirl to another, like we relate on so many levels.
Definitely, I agree.
So I want to ask what is your definition of fangirl? Because I want to read you what it says on, like, when you
The internet,
Google
I
the
know.
definition, and it says a female fan, especially one who's obsessive about comics, movies, music, or science fiction. That's not what I think of when I think of fangirl. I think of somebody like kind of freaking out over an artist, but what are your
I
words?
think a fangirl is just someone who's super passionate about an artist, a celebrity. It doesn't matter, it doesn't even matter the genre or the field that they're in. It's just someone that's like super passionate about it, and that is the supporter. They are the support system that you have. I mean, also you could use the word fangirl about guys with their sports. I think that there's not really it's just someone that is super passionate, a super fan about something specific, and they're the ones that buy the tickets, buy the CDs, buy the merch, buy everything, and that they're, no matter what you do, the good, bad, or ugly, they're going to support you, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I do think, like, when I was younger, like, if someone even mentioned Nick Jonas, I'd be like, and I'd freak out. Of course, like, I was 15 and 16, but and that name just still be like, oh, you're still such a fangirl, and it's like, okay, cool, like that's cool. I am a fangirl. I am super proud to be a fan of the Jonas Brothers, because that passion that I had for them, I'm now in a career path because of that. And I know so many people that are in a career path because they were a fan of, whether it was basketball, and now they work in sports or anything like that.
One of those terms that just grew and grew and grew over the years. But I'm asking you this specifically because for those who don't know, you had been doing these events that you started your own company with Fangirl Fantasy. And I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of this like long ago. I mean, how many times when you were growing up did you have like a sleepover with a best friend and that's all you did was like blasted the Jonas Brothers or whoever you may have been obsessed with, and that's what you did all night, and that's basically what you did, but in an adult form of party. And I got to go to a couple pre-pandemic, so the One Direction party was a lot of fun on that Boston rooftop.
Yep.
And then the last one I got to go to was the Taylor Swift night, one of the Taylor Swift nights. So that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Where did this stroke of genius come from you?
I said, like, the Jonas Brothers are what started, every day after school, like if I wasn't playing sports or at practice, like I'm home watching YouTube videos of like Jonas Brothers funniest moments, or or Jonas Brothers interviews, or listening to their music, buying all their magazines. And it's just something I've been super passionate. Like, I love music, I love pop culture. And then I like worked in radio and this and that, and I kind of just came up with it. I was like, there's not, like, I was kind of getting over the nightlife scene and going out, and I'm just like, I don't care about this music. I would go out to see my friends at DJ and stuff like that, but I'm like, I'm not really having like fun beside, it was just kind of like, I know that me and my friends would love to go do this, like go to a place that all of these artists that we would love to hear is in one place. And so then I just kind of like threw out the feeler to my friends. I was like, what if I just took this little leap and did this, and and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, and they're like, yeah, do it. And so then it was like coming up with a name and all that, but I was just like, I just wanted to create a place that you could just be unapologetically yourself and like not care that, like, it's like, you used to be embarrassed to be a fangirl, or people like would throw that word at you as if it's like slang, like as a bad thing. And now I'm like, hell yeah, I'm a fangirl, and hell yeah, like I'm going to this, this dance night, and it's only Jonas Brothers and One Direction.
I'm gonna drink and dance my ass off, and I'm gonna have a freaking awesome time. And I don't care if you make fun of me now, because I'm an adult and I can do what I want.
Literally. And you're surrounded by other people who have that in common. And it's really just creating like a community and like a safe place for people who just want to enjoy that music and just not care, and that other people that are there are also enjoying that music. And it's also like when you're in the car and you're like with your friends driving, like, what music are you playing on your Spotify? Because me and my friends are playing fucking One Direction or Taylor Swift, this, that. And so like we're not turning on Drake or like Migos or any of that their DJs are playing at these clubs. We're putting on this music, so let's why can't we hear that music anywhere else? So I wanted to be the first person to create that. I'm also just super competitive. So if somebody else in Boston created that dance night and I didn't think of it, I would have been so mad.
Well, that's probably why I looked at it and I'm like, damn you, Julie, like that's such a good idea. Like if of anybody, like anybody that knows me, I mean, look at my background. Like, how do I not have some sort of affiliation with a 90s night or something? Because that's the thing is like, you know, what I think you're hitting on too is like, yeah, going out just to go out and just to get wasted and whatever, like, okay, it gets old really quick, right? So a lot of people will go out, and if they go out, they're looking for theme nights or they're looking for that throwback party or whatever. And I think that's the niche that you hit. Everybody does 90s and like early 2000s parties or an 80s party, but they don't do for a specific artist or genre, or like we were saying, fangirls are everywhere. So I don't even have to ask for you. Obviously, it's the Jonas Brothers. That's who you grow up. Should I just assume that you got poked fun of for that? Because because I definitely did with Hanson. Like, I mean, I still, when I say that they're my favorite band, that's what happens still. Like, how many years later? They came out in 97, and I've been basically defending myself since I was 13, and it's ridiculous. So I'm proud to say that I know that no matter what, they haven't been unveiled yet, but they're on The Masked Singer this time around. Like, there's no way it's not them. So, and like Twitter's been blowing up, so I finally get to have one of those moments of like, see, this is why I've been a fan this whole damn time.
Yeah, no, it's not the best part of it all. I think the craziest part was when I first started Fangirl Fantasy, you know, I just kind of was promoting it via, you know, my personal sometimes, but like mostly obviously through Fangirl Fantasy socials, and seeing people I went to high school with bought tickets that like weren't fangirls or like weren't like,
admitting to be anyway.
Yes, and I'm like, okay, because but like they don't know that it's me, like, you know what I mean, unless like they like really follow me on social, like, or you know what I mean, like, so I was just like, cool, okay, this is like kind of cool.
I'm in that popular clique now, cool.
Yeah, I'm 25, but like, yay.
Hey. So I know that you've had the opportunity to, I mean, the business that we've both been in, we have these opportunities all the time to meet people. But when we finally get to meet somebody that we've been wanting to meet forever, how was that for you when you met the Jonas Brothers? Did you fangirl? Did you freak out?
Yes, I met Nick for the first time. So like he was the one that I met by like the first time, and he was my favorite. And I got a Christmas present from like my family to go see him on Broadway. Okay. When he was in New York City on Broadway. So I met him there, but it was just like he like signed, you know, when they come to the stage door and everything. So I didn't get a photo or anything, but still he was like right there. He's like, hey, how are you? I'm like, so I was like 17, and I've been a fan of him since I was like 13. So it was like crazy. And then I met them, all three of them together at the Today Show like a year later. And yeah, I got selfies, like they signed my CDs. It was just like, and I was with like all my friends, like my fangirl friends in New York City for the day. And like, we all just met them. Some of us for the first time, some of us maybe a couple other times. And it was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. So yeah, no, I've met them now, super fortunate, like a lot. But like, even still to this day, when I meet them, I'm just like, it's just like my happiness. It's just like a happy place when I see them, you know, like they've been through like my whole life with me basically, of like this adult, like, you know, adult, even to adulthood. And you know, that music, when you listen to it, still resonates with you to a certain moment and all that. And so like every time I see them, whether it's concert, whether it's like a small appearance or anything, like it's just like I'm happy, and I will always remember this moment. I could tell you like specifically like every moment I've probably seen them, and like a certain thing that's happened, you know, like at a performance, what they were wearing or something like that, because just those moments are just super important to me.
I get that completely. That, I mean, that you're explaining my entire like living experience of these guys, because Yeah, from the time I was 13 straight through. I mean, still, like, there wasn't even a time where I faltered at all.
Mhm.
Even when there was that, like, there was a split second hiatus there where there was some label troubles. They were on Mercury Records that turned into Island Def Jam. So the
Okay.
whole thing where it was like, here we've got this pop rock band and now it's on a hip hop label. Where do they fit?
Mhm.
And they were trying to, like, the label was trying to shelf them basically. And then they broke off and did their own thing. But there was like probably 3 years where all of a sudden they disappeared. And I'm just
No
over here
music.
like, my fandom didn't falter. I'm like, they're gonna be back. But I mean, all those moments, I have had the opportunity, because I've also been blessed to meet them a couple different times, but I will never forget, and you'll appreciate this. The last time I met them was on Valentine's Day. So it was
Oh,
like,
no way.
I was with my guys on the day, and instead of their wives, and and the thing is I think they met with me first knowing it was somebody from radio and they wanted to make that like a special experience. But here I came in like
As a
true
fan.
fangirl, and I had like their independent CD with me, and the looks on their faces were like, oh my God, like, she's not just from radio, but she actually likes us.
Yeah, that's the
they,
best.
they talked to me for like 30 minutes. And I think that I was in such shock of the moment that I have to have like moments of talking to a friend of just like, hey, what happened that day? Like, I think I was so like on cloud nine that I
Mhm.
just was an outer body experience.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, sometimes I'm like with a friend who like was with them when they met, and like we like come up with like we just like talk about it. I'm like, did that even happen? Like, did we make that up in our head
Right.
because we wanted it to happen, or something kind of slightly like that happened? And every time we tell the story, we just said it happened.
Yeah, I only know that the Valentine's thing happened because there's like a meet and greet photo.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm like, what? Really? Like,
Was I really there?
that's like the best Valentine's ever. So when it comes to everything that you've been doing, obviously the events had to stop, but you brought it all online, it seems. I mean, you've got this podcast that you started. How's everything going with that? And what have you been doing to bring this to life online?
So I started the podcast in the end of October-ish, around then, and I was sitting on it for a while. Like, I knew I kind of had to do it. I knew like what I wanted to do, but I'm very behind the scenes person. Like, I worked in radio for 6 years, but I wasn't on air, like
Yeah.
I know how the production side of it works, and I know what it takes to make, a good radio show happen, which is ultimately a podcast, but it was really just kind of getting out of my comfort zone. I'm cool with throwing all the events and getting the DJ up there and the mic and doing, making sure the events are awesome. But then like a podcast with like my name on it and me being the host, and it was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, the first couple episodes I was like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. Like, I'm so nervous, but it's been great. I'm getting a ton of feedback of fangirls who did make it into the industry, or people that are listening because they're in high school or college and they're trying to figure out kind of what lane to go or what advice to take or what they're trying to do. And I'm having so many amazing people who have worked, or that are working in the industry and started off where we did, with fan accounts, waiting outside to meet their favorite artists. It's a huge spectrum. Some work for specifically for artists, and then others work for labels or management. So it's been great getting feedback just from like, an outlet that like I wish I had when I was at being younger, and okay, what do I want to do? Or what does that job even entail? When you talk about your social media manager, what does an event coordinator at a radio station even do? And it's like you kind of had to know somebody to get that advice. But now, with the age of like social media and podcasts and all that, it's just like a different outlet. But I do have like a very specific niche, of like who it is, and it's relatable. It's not just talking about work, and then it's like we're telling all these cool stories. And like, all right, she's done this, I've done something like that, and she still made it into the industry. Just because you're a fangirl and you did have those moments when you were younger that you might have freaked out way a little too much about that artist, you still have these opportunities to work and flourish and use what you've learned from Twitter, from stan culture, from fandoms in this industry.
That's the amazing part of all of this, is like, once you have that idea, you can really start to, stretch it out and see where it fits in other ways. So now, as things are starting to, I guess, kind of get back to normal in a way, not really, but I know like some things are starting to open up now a little bit more. And I know you're like back and forth because you're still a big wig and you're doing all sorts of things. But what are you seeing for the future of the fangirl fantasy events and stuff? Are we going to get back to dancing our butts off in One Direction shirts or what?
Oh yes, of course. That's not going anywhere. Obviously gonna make sure everything's safe to, I'm not gonna jump into anything just because I want to do it. So I think we're gonna start off with outdoor rooftop parties, this summer at, a smaller capacity if that needs to be, and do like maybe like a brunch theme. And just kind of get people back into being comfortable going out, but then also still being able to be like, oh cool, okay, this is what Fangirl is about, for people that haven't been to an event and just kind of discovered us during the pandemic, in the Boston area right now, at least. And then, yeah, back to business once things open up. I'm super excited. I've had this time to like kind of sit down and figure out really what I want to do and how these events can look. So, yeah, Taylor Swift night, Jonas Brothers, One Direction, K-pop, all that,
Yeah, I'm still
Backstreet
bummed
Boys.
that I missed I think it was like the Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC night or
That
something.
that was COVID. No, COVID canceled it.
Oh,
So
did
we
it?
have to,
But
yeah.
you had one, I feel like right off the bat that was like that.
Yeah. The
Like,
first event I ever did was like kind of like just like mainstream pop boy band music. It wasn't
yeah.
like a specific, it was kind of like across the board because I just want
Yeah.
to get the feelers out there and see,
Oh, but that is my wheelhouse. That is my jam. I always gravitate back to all of that. So that's why, like, when I saw your events, I'm like, why am I working nights? Why?
yeah.
And then I got let go, and it was totally fine. I got two in before COVID. Craziness. All right, let me ask you a couple things before I let you go. Just pop culture related stuff. I want to know your thoughts on, well, first of all, do we ever see a One Direction or an NSYNC reunion?
One Direction, no, because of Zayn. I don't think so.
Do you think the other four would ever do anything without him?
I think that depends if they'd be okay with doing it without him. I think they would do something without Zayn. I just don't think Zayn will ever go back into the picture.
That troublesome boy.
I still don't even think they're friends, and I think that's like the bigger issue.
Yeah.
Like I think like the rest of them are fine, but I don't know. In sync too. Like I don't see Justin ever doing anything.
He's got to be so popular. I mean, come on.
No, but it's even like, but like that's Harry. Harry is a freaking rock star, but I think he'd do it in a heartbeat just because he would want to do it for the fans.
Yeah, I think Harry would do it. I think Niall would do it too, because I mean, both of them have been wildly successful music career-wise outside of the group.
You would think like Liam and Zayn and Louis would do it and then like release a song solo after it, like just do like a one night performance and then get
use
their
it as
careers,
another
like
launching pad.
Yes, as another, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, if I could get just like one more NSYNC song, I'd be a pleased fan. But whatever. So have you heard the new Justin Bieber album?
I love it. It's so good.
There are some people who love to give him so much shit, and I can understand it to a point, but I do think that we're just in the age of social media, so we see way more than anybody ever did about these child stars. So I think, we got to really, really watch him grow up, which is why we got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But people love to let all that weigh him down and discredit his talent. But I've been a fan since YouTube. Like I remember sharing that stuff on MySpace back in the day before anybody really knew who he was. So I was like super excited to hear this album. And I think he's found his groove again too. Like Changes was good.
The music is really good. It's really well done. And I think, like you said, people love to hate him. I think if you want to, he's not the same person he was 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you want to compare him to the last 2-3 years, he's a different person, I think, than he was those. And I think he owned up to a lot of his mistakes. I think, the Taylor Swift stuff, him and Scooter Braun and this and that, like, okay, like you can have your personal differences and it is business and it's shitty. But as a person, I think how like he was a kid, and he make mistakes. He had a lot of money. He got drugs. He got mixed up with the wrong crowd. And I just really don't think he's the same person that he was 3 years ago. And it's just kind of like, when are you going to let someone learn? When are you going to let someone learn from their mistakes and grow from them?
I mean, I would even argue less than 3 years ago. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
he's constantly in this growth
Changing.
pattern, but in like a really good, positive way. And it shows in the music too. Like, I mean, he's so truthful in the
Mhm.
lyrics that he writes. So I was very pleasantly not surprised. I was just pleasantly pleasant, if that's
Yeah,
even
no,
a way of putting
I
it.
think most people I think are giving some I think people are enjoying this album.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And my one more thing here. Demi Lovato, thoughts. What's going on? I am somebody who absolutely loves her, and I have so much, I have so much stuff that I feel. Like, I
Yeah.
feel so concerned in one breath, and then also like, okay, well, maybe she is okay. Like, I can't tell.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the great thing about that's the thing about a manipulator. You never know how they actually are. Um, I am very excited for her documentary and the album and kind of see. I mean, no matter if you love or hate her, she has her voice is just unbelievable,
Oh
and
my
I
God,
think the
it's
music that
killer.
she
Yeah.
creates is also very honest and truthful. I think you her life is just a roller coaster ride, and it's like she's someone that kind of has to learn the hard way of like the choices that she makes, but she is learning the hard. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
is going. She's the one that's going through it. She's yeah, I don't know. I have very conflicting thoughts about her. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, yeah. But then it's like also this is like her third documentary that we're seeing about, her addiction and like, kind of her life and who's controlling the narrative in these documentaries sometimes is what I want to know. Is it her completely or was the last one her management? And then this,
Right. And
so
trying
it's
to
like,
paint whatever picture, and yeah, as a
yeah, I
selling
mean, because
feature.
yeah, because I mean, you get to no matter even if it's a movie, documentary, there's always a narrative, and someone's always in control of what want you to see.
Oh,
Um,
you're uh now I'm realizing too. I think the last album came out the same time as that documentary too, didn't it? And this one's
yeah,
coming out like a week after. Oh, I see what's happening. I'm putting
yeah,
all the
it's
ridiculous
marketing. At the
together.
end of the day, it's still marketing. They still want
Yeah.
album sales, and they still want. But I think what she's gone through sucks, and like I'm glad that she keeps coming out stronger on the other end. And I think she has like taken a step back to like focus on herself. And I also think she was in a terrible management deal with Philly Mac, which was the Jonas Brothers' current management. Whatever, no shade, but I think that they didn't treat her in the correct way, and she wasn't getting what she needed. So I do hope she would Scooter now. And again, people have conflicting thoughts on him right now, but she seems to be happy. And I don't know. It's really hard, and I've learned I'm growing into this industry and kind of being in it now. It's like it's not what you see on the other side because I work with some talent and I'm just like they get torn apart for doing something when if you talk to them or you're actually with them every day and I'm like that's it's not who they are and that's like but someone else gets to control the narrative just
Yeah.
based on one thing that they saw. So my like thoughts on are very like kind of changing on how the situations
I feel
are.
like mine are too. And I try to explain that too, because I know like people got so bent out of shape when Justin Timberlake issued an apology
Hmm.
on Twitter and everything when it came to the Free Britney documentary. And it's like,
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
but he had to say, if he didn't say anything, yeah, he would have been, everybody would have been like, what an asshole. Like, I hate him. But we don't know what's actually happened with both of them over the
Behind the
course of the
scenes.
last 15 years. I
Hmm.
truly believe at some point they already hashed it out because both of them have been fine with each other publicly for years.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think like that's something we didn't have to be a part of.
We as people think we deserve to know everything about everyone's life and that's not how it should be and it's not healthy and I think yeah like we have no idea if they might have gotten dinner 10 years ago and he could have belted out a whole apology and it was in private because that's a private situation because it
Yep.
was their relationship, it wasn't our relationship, it
Yeah,
wasn't our
exactly.
situation. So yeah, I just think we're in the middle of cancel culture right now and it's just kind of like pick
And
a side. I
it's hit
think
a
I
peak.
think I think you need to be held accountable for your mistakes, but it's also like is it like
People
our
also need to
responsibility?
be, we need to accept those apologies to allow people to grow too, because that's the
Hmm.
thing is people learn and they grow if it's done right. But if you're just canceling people, you're setting them up for disaster. I feel like that's where mental health can really take a tumble for a lot of people if it's not taken care of. So I
Definitely,
don't
I
know.
agree.
So Jonas Brothers. Nick Jonas has his new album. It's not out yet, right?
It is. It
is.
came out last week. Spaceman.
Oh my God, I missed it. I'm a horrible
Come
person.
on.
I've
Bring that.
I followed the Biebs to a T. I missed out on the Jonas. Is that
his came out the week before?
Okay, because I saw him on SNL. He did phenomenal.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah, so I'll have to go and check that out. What do we think? Jonas Brothers album coming soon too? Because it's been they've had time during the pandemic. So
Yeah, I think they're all kind of focusing on some like individual stuff. I hope so. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I don't really know what they're doing. It's kind of weird. They Nick's doing super solo with the music, and then Joe's like currently filming for a movie. Kevin's being a dad. Joe's being a dad. Joe like had his first kid during COVID, so that's a huge adjustment for them. I don't know. It's kind of like surprise us, so figure like keep us on your toes. I feel
like that's a very Jonas Brothers thing to do.
It's so annoying though.
It's so annoying. Yeah. All right. So the moral of the story here is if you are a fangirl of something, just go ahead and let your freak flag fly and just wear it proudly. Keep on going, keep on living, love what you love and be okay with it. By the way, I also want to just admit, I went out and I did get the new Nick Jonas album. So I'm going to binge listen. And the new Justin is out too, Justin Bieber. So you can go ahead and check those things out. I'm going to sit around in my Hanson happy place now, I think. And I'm just going to, soak it all in. I'm going to feel really good. But we have more coming up with the pod next week. Make sure you guys are staying safe and be good to each other. I'll talk to you next week.
Oh, hey,